Ladies and gentlemen, the metaphorical bell has rung, therefore we have begun. Welcome everybody that is currently living in the room and all those people that are virtual elsewhere. My name is Jonathan Thomas Palmer, and this is Positive and Negative 5 Ways to Make Engaging Flipping Videos. I have had you sign a video permission form over here because I film everything that I do and then I post it online. It's a good exercise for me, helps me to see how I'm doing with stuff. If you are in the room, it would be awesome if you could not be on the wireless network. I'm going to be showing clips, short clips of about 6 or so videos, and I've found that it sometimes slows down quite a bit if you guys are on that. If you need to be, fine, but just be aware of that. I do have a survey. I'll get to that in just a little bit. If you guys are in the room, I apologize. We're not going to fill out that survey right now, but I'll have you fill out one a little bit later. All right. So, here we go. I was a high school physics teacher for 13 years. I taught college prep physics and AP Physics C, both mechanics and electricity and magnetism. During my last year, I flipped my classes, and it was such an amazing, transformative experience for me that I decided to quit my job. Which I know seems very strange, but for me, what I found was the hardest part of flipping was to get students to want to watch the videos. So I did an experiment while I was teaching. I took a weekend and I spent 30 hours filming 3 videos, which totaled 30 minutes. And I played 3 students, Billy, Bobby, and Bo. Hopefully you've seen that. I did that for this particular homework assignment. And my students really liked it, and they were very engaged in what was going on. And I did some talks with them about, well, if all the videos looked like this, would you be more inclined to watch them? And the answer was yes. So I started a business called Flipping Physics. I am the CEO, the CFO, the creative genius. I am the only person who works for it. But what I do is I make free physics educational videos that I post online for anyone and everyone to use. And so what I'm here to do today is to help you figure out how to make your videos more engaging so your students will want to watch them, so it's less of a fight to get them to watch them. That's the basic idea of what we're doing today. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where you are. Now, I know where everyone in this room is, so don't feel like you're not included. You are. You're here with me. But we're going to figure out where all these other people are. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my Google Analytics for my website. And I'm going to send everybody who's virtual to my website to just a temporary page. They'll go there, and then you guys will come right back here to here virtually to the classroom. And I'll be able to show you where you are. So I'm going to put this link into the chat. And if you are one of my virtual attendees, if you could click on that link right there, it'll take you to my website, and then just come right back here to the presentation, please. All right. So for you guys.
Is there any way you can make that bigger?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll get back to that in a minute. All right, so, we have people who have raised their hand already. Okay, so we have now, you can't see who's raised their hands, can you? Oh, good, hand over here. So what I instructed people to come, when they come back, to raise their hand. So what I'm gonna do in just a moment, when we get a few more people who've raised their hands, we have 27, and clearly we need some more people to raise their hands, but we'll get there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen with you guys, and I guess I'll do that right now. And what we'll do is, I'm going to share my screen, and on my screen you will be able to see these are my Google Analytics, and these are where people are, and they are all the people who are on my temporary page are the ones who are currently in my virtual classroom. So we have 1 person from Finland, 2 people from Canada, and 17 from the United States. And we can zoom in on the United States, and that is where all the people are located. I like this as opposed to one where you have people type stuff into a Google form, because it's much harder to lie when you're doing this because your computer keeps track of where you are. Now, I know some of you know how to change that, which is fine. You can lie about where you are using your computer, but most people don't do that. So I always find it fun to just see where everybody is. That's pretty cool. All right, so now we're going to come back to here, and we will come back to the presentation. All right. Now, before we begin, I'd just like to talk about some of the ground rules here. We're here to discuss how to make engaging flipping videos. We're here to be supportive of one another. I'm not going to attack you. I don't want you to attack me. You're not going to agree with everything I say, and that's okay, right? We don't all agree with one another. We have different students. We are different people. We teach different subjects. I want you to feel comfortable to ask questions. I want you to feel comfortable to even answer questions that I might have or you have. And mostly to just give suggestions and be involved in what's going on. So physically, if you're here, you can just raise your hand, give a shout out, let me know you have a question. If you are, could you lower all the hands for me? So if you are not here, if you're here virtually, you can raise your hand and we'll know that you have a question. So, and feel free to put stuff. Feel free to go to FlipCon14.html after the presentation, because I will post, actually I've already posted the PDF and a PowerPoint of this presentation if you're interested. And so anything that I put on the screen, you are going to have available right there. Afterwards, probably later in the week, I'll actually take all the video that I'm making right now and compile it into one video, which you can look at if you are interested in seeing anything that you missed. And I'll also summarize on that website all links and things that we talked about. All right. Okay, so I do want to talk about the survey results. I'm interested to see what people said here. So the survey was how much time do you spend on average making flipping videos per week? And so what you can see is we only have 1 person who's less than half of an hour. And we even have 2 people that are in my range, which is more than 3.0 hours. I put to infinity to begin with, but I decided that there weren't an infinite number of hours in a week. So it looks like most of us spend somewhere between 2 and 3 hours per week working on flipping videos. So one of the reasons I did this is because I spend about 30 to 40 hours a week working on flipping videos. And that's why I feel comfortable standing in front of you and talking about how to make engaging flipping videos, because that's my job. All right, let's go back to this one. All right. So just an outline of what we're going to do today. When I sat down to write this presentation, I had already done the proposal and done the positive and -5, and that seemed like a good number, 5. It's totally wrong. I have so many different, so please forgive me. I'm going to go through my list of don'ts and list of do's, and there are more than 5. I apologize. I also realized that there are some things that I consider just basics. They're not like really do's or don'ts. It's just like, this is just a basic step when you're making a flipping video. I'm going to give you an opportunity to vote, to rate my different suggestions. So if you do vehemently disagree with something that I say, feel free to vote very negatively, and that's okay. We all learn from one another. And then lastly, I'm hoping to get your suggestions near the end here, because I did have you do that for the homework, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say. And through conversations with people in this room this week, it seemed like everybody wanted to know how it is that I put 3 of me on the screen at the same time. So it actually isn't a part of my original presentation, but I added it last night. So I'll hopefully get time to shove that in somewhere where it feels appropriate, even though I don't expect any of you to do it, but that's okay. All right. So I do want to point out this is not a basic how-to webinar. I'm not going to go through step by step on how to do anything. I'm just going to talk about what I suggest that you do. So don't expect me to show you how to do a Snagit screencast. Okay. Okay. The basics. Before you start filming, And this whole thing comes from a list of things that I have. Like, I have a whole list. Before you start filming, do this. Because I have forgotten some of these sometimes, and it's not good. Okay. Now, the first one is turn off your mobile phone. Unless you're using it to record, which is fine. But, like, I've had my mobile phone go off in the middle of filming, right? It makes all sorts of noises. Thank you. So just turn off your mobile phone. Stop for a moment and listen for extraneous noises. We don't notice them in our day-to-day lives, but when you film something, you will notice that clock ticking in the background, that dehumidifier that turns on and off, the refrigerator that turns on and off. There are all sorts of noises, so just take a moment and listen and shut down things that are making noise. Recheck all your equipment. Mostly, make sure everything's recording. I've done it before, and maybe you haven't, but I have, where I'm done, and I go and look, and I didn't record. So I just have this list, okay, is it recording? And it feels silly every time to check, but it ends up saving a lot of time. Has anybody else done that? I'm just curious. Yeah, okay, good. So just good. I'm not alone. I'm not the only idiot in the room. Okay, so live or picture-in-picture, I have some basics for this. Not everybody does stuff where it's picture-in-picture. And this is going to seem a little bit silly, but start by looking in a mirror. Okay? I don't usually look in a mirror. I don't do a whole lot with my hair. I know it looks but the very basic reason for this, and I apologize to Derek Muller for doing this, but I think it's important and it serves a purpose. But if you go and Google Veritasium booger, and I checked this morning, the first hit is a video where it's a wonderful video about, will this move faster than light? And he debunks a whole bunch of things having to do with that. But there's a booger hanging out of his nose. And I think he did something, he must have gone through and cut out all of the comments, because there are all the comments are gone, but there's a Google Plus page which has comments which you can't remove. And there used to be a ton of comments about the booger because everybody's really distracted by the booger hanging out of his nose. Okay? So, you just look in a mirror. Okay. Okay, so, picture-in-picture. The basics. I've done this to show you a good example of what not to do when doing a picture-in-picture. You should not have, you should think about the video, what the background of the video is. And mostly, the main issue people have is no bright lights and having a window behind it. Please don't do either of these, because when you do that, you end up with just a silhouette of you, and you don't see you. And the other thing is, make sure you're centered in the picture, so just take a moment, make sure think about what's behind you, and center yourself. And lastly, and this one's really difficult for me, when you're doing a picture-in-picture, you really have to remain stationary. I have a really hard time with it. In fact, I'm having a really hard time not pacing all around right in front of this thing for you, so I'm trying to stay over here. But when you're doing a picture-in-picture, it gets really exaggerated because it's just this little square. So just do that for me. Okay. Oh, and when you use text and equations, which you're going to do, please make sure that your text is big. And there are times when, for whatever reason, your text it's hard to get the color to stand out. And one of the things that I have found that works is to use a drop shadow, or just a shadow in Microsoft. So it's just a way to make the text look like it's up off the page because it creates a shadow. But what it also does is it makes it so that it's actually easier to see the text in instances where you're putting text over a picture for some reason and it's hard to figure out a color that will make it stand out. So use a drop shadow. And there was a time that I didn't know what a drop shadow was, so I asked my students. They're always a great resource. Always use your students. Okay. Video length. Everybody wants to know how long should my video be. And I'm sure you've heard from John Bergman, the rule of thumb is 1 to 1.5 minutes per grade level. It's fine. That's his suggestion. So the question is, what's my suggestion? My answer is, I don't have one. And I'll explain why, okay? I know that there's studies out, I was hearing about them, that college students want videos that are 6 minutes or less. Fine, okay? But the truth is that you know your subject matter and you know your students. And you are going to experience what they will watch and what they won't, okay? So while I can make suggestions, but you are the one who knows. Now, I have a video that's 63 minutes long, and it's one of my most watched videos. And common practice would say, there's no way anybody's going to watch a 63-minute video. But it's one of my most watched videos. I also have a video that is 59 seconds long, and it is one of my most viewed videos. Now, the difference between most watched and most viewed is this video the students have watched it for almost the most amount of time, because it's a 63-minute video, but the 59-second video hasn't been watched as much time, but has been watched many more times, if that makes sense. So I really don't have a suggestion for video length. I think it's great. Bergman's suggestion is really a very good suggestion, but in the end, you know your students, you know your subject material. Start somewhere and figure it out. Start. I don't really have a suggestion. Okay. I think my next slide is my list of do's. But before I do, could somebody tell me if they have a question? How are we doing? Yes, we have a question.
Did you find out, as you're creating videos, back to the time issue, that once you had done several, you realized or learned what you could call and
right, so the main suggestion with time of length of videos is to just cut as much from the video as you can. So the shorter, the better, absolutely. My 63-minute video is, I applied to the College Board for specific permission to do the solutions to a released AP exam, and it's the solutions to 35 multiple choice questions. And if you watch that, I am moving as quickly as possible, but it's 35 multiple choice questions, right? So yes, the main thing is to cut as much as you can. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit as we go through. All right, so my list of don'ts. First don't is don't use the internal microphone of whatever you have. It's just, people overlook the importance of audio. Also don't use what I use. This is what I use. This is called a Zoom H4n. It's a 4-track stereo microphone that you can plug in external mics to and record using that. This is actually $500 worth of equipment approximately. And another reason that I quit my job and started making videos for other people to flip is I didn't buy any of this. I'm an amateur musician and I owned all of this beforehand. So I don't suggest that you do this, but I do have a suggestion for an external microphone. Paul Anderson of Bozeman Biology uses something called a Samson Go Mic Compact USB microphone plug and play. It's $40. And it increases the quality of your audio. And if you think about a video, we look at videos and we think about, okay, what's in the video? We think about the picture. Again, this is a PowerPoint presentation you can download on my website. You don't have to write all that down, but that's fine if you want to. But when you watch a video, you don't actually spend the entire time watching the video, but you do spend the entire time listening to the video. So people overlook the importance of audio. So that is my suggestion. Definitely get an external microphone. My second suggestion is don't ignore audio levels. A lot of people don't even look at what the audio level is. So take a moment and adjust the microphone, the microphone level to make sure that it's an appropriate level. Sometimes you see videos or hear videos where it's very quiet. Sometimes you hear videos where it's staticky the whole time. And just imagine trying to watch that as a student. So just take a moment, make sure that you do not ignore your audio levels. Don't be just a talking head. A lot of you are going to do picture-in-picture videos. And you think you're limited by the little screen that you have. And you are. But there are things that you can do in that little screen. You can pick up items and you can hold them up in front of that camera. You can talk about those items that have to do with whatever your subject matter is. You can even do goofy stuff like point to parts of the presentation from your talking head, okay? So don't just be a talking head. In the end, it's gonna just, the whole goal is to be more engaging, so you need to think of other things to do with that. Okay, don't cut the video mid-sentence. I've seen a lot of videos where people are, again, concerned about time, so they film it and then they'll go through and cut pieces of it to make it so that it's shorter. Now, rather than go out on the internet and find bad examples and show them to you, which I thought would not be very kosher, what I did is I made a video to show you what this means. So here we go. We're going to try my first video. We're going to see if it works. I'm excited. Anybody else sweating? Golly.
This is what it looks like when you have a bunch of cuts in the middle of a sentence. It's just distracting, unless you're trying to make a point, like this.
Good morning, my future attendees, for positive and negative 5 ways to make engaging flipping videos. This is your homework. 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 Homework.
Okay, so in case you missed it, when I sat down and made my homework video for this, I actually sat down with my list of do's and don'ts and tried to embed as many as I could into the video. So that's why there were strange things happening in the video. Like at one point the audio was really low, maybe you noticed that, I talked about that. At one point the audio actually switched to the audio from the camera, and it was pretty not so good. And then I switched over to what I normally use. So I did try to embed the positives and negatives into the video. It's just kind of a fun task for me. Okay, so notice in that video that it's awkward when people are cutting out. I just want to play the beginning part again.
This is what it looks like when you have a bunch of cuts in the middle of a sentence. It's just distracting, unless you're trying to make a point, like this.
So, like, I've seen flipping videos where people do that and they just keep cutting it. Please, just, if you could do a full sentence and then cut. If you mess up the sentence, just start over. Please, okay. All right, let's go back to the presentation.
Do you cut the video but not the audio in that? Because the audio was smooth.
No, I cut the audio as well. That has to do with the external mic that I use, which has a much better, it doesn't do automatic leveling.
Yep.
All right, so back to the presentation. Okay, so next, don't. Don't overuse transitions and effects. I know, dang it, I keep doing that. Sorry, everybody. Okay. I know it's exciting to put in that huge transition when you go from one thing to the next, and it's just fun to watch for you. But the truth is that they just end up being distracting. Okay? There are reasons for transitions. If you're transitioning from one location to another, sure, use a transition. But really, you should just not really use transitions. Like you'll notice I actually did a transition in the previous video, right? But it was a logical transition. I was transitioning from one video to another one. So if it's illogical, use it, but please don't overuse transitions and effects. Okay, don't go on at length without any visual change. And a lot of us we do this because we teach and we talk a lot, right? So one of my suggestions is, it's very simple. Rather than simply having your just talking the whole time, add little pieces of text. Don't add all of it at once, add little pieces of text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video where I do this.
You're not the only one with good suggestions, you know.
Which I think is definitely true. Regardless of whether you've made flipping videos of your own, all of you should have experience with flipping videos. Therefore, my homework for you is this. Please sit down and come up with a list of your suggestions as to what you should and shouldn't do in order to make engaging flipping videos. If you can come up with 10 suggestions, that would be great. If not, that's fine. And during my presentation, we'll get an opportunity to share and we'll combine our resources that way. Let's go outside.
Okay, so I go for over 30 seconds without anything changing on the screen. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is show it to you.
You're not the only one with good suggestions, you know.
Which I think is definitely true. Regardless of whether you've made flipping videos of your own, all of you should have experience with flipping videos. Therefore, my homework for you is this. Please sit down and come up with a list of your suggestions as to what you should and shouldn't do in order to make engaging flipping videos. If you can come up with 10 suggestions, that would be great. If not, that's fine. And during my presentation, we'll get an opportunity to share and we'll combine our resources that way. Let's go outside.
So it's a very subtle difference, right? But you'll notice that I don't go on for 30 seconds without something changing on the screen. So after about 12 seconds, I put up a little blurb about what I'm talking about. Notice it's not exact. I'm not saying the exact same words. That's important. It's not verbatim. And then, again, I add a little bit more. And that just keeps the student engaged in what's going on because it's changing. How many times have you watched something and nothing changes and you're just not, you just lose interest? Yes?
How do you do the timer on the screen?
All right, technical questions. So this, I use Final Cut Pro, and it is a generator in there. It's a specific generator. And well, I did what everybody else did. I Googled, you know, how do I do a timer, and I found a YouTube video on it, just like everybody else. So, all right, let's go back to the presentation. All right, one of my suggestions is don't film outside if you want to hear dialogue, because it is really, there are so many extraneous noises and the wind really affects the audio. It can be very difficult to get audio to work outside. You will notice that I did do a part of my video outside for this, and in order to do so, I used this. This is a Rode Video Mic Pro with a dead cat windscreen. That's the term for this guy right here. It's not actually a dead cat, it's just a term. I don't think it looks like a dead cat, I guess. Okay, so this is, and you've seen these out there, when people are doing professional audio outside, they have something like this because this is really the only way to cut out the wind. You can't cut out the extraneous noises. In order for me to film that piece that I did outside, it was actually right near my house and there are trucks that go by and I had to basically wait until all the trucks were gone, and then I'd do it with the little thing and I'd have, you know, a 30-second window where I could do it. So one of my suggestions, believe it or not, is don't film outside. Another one is don't have continuous background music. I know if you've ever watched your own
Make sure the green speaker at the top, you can just click that next to meeting, and then we'll be good. Promise.
Don't overuse audio effects as well. Now, if you've ever watched your own videos, you get bored, right? You're like, oh my God, I'm so boring. Well, that's because number one, you're watching yourself. Number two, you already know the material. You're not trying to learn from it. You're not the student who's intently trying to listen and write stuff down and figure out and understand what you're saying, okay? And the background music in the end just ends up distracting from what you're trying to say. You're not making a feature-length film, right? So don't have continuous background music. Now, I do have a clip of where I had Bo play the reel-to-reel in the video, but we've had enough issues with video, so I'm not going to do that now, even though I really liked that. It was really the only reason I was going to show it, because I was so proud I had a reel-to-reel in my attic, and I was like, I could use that in the video.
I have made many flipping videos, and I've learned quite a bit about what you should and shouldn't do when making them. Bo, what is that?
What? Don't you like my music?
Okay, so at this time, you're going to get to opine about my list of don'ts. So even if you are in the room, if you would like to as well, you can go to my website. I'm going to put the link in just a moment into the chat, and you can just copy it down. I'll tell you what it is in just a moment. And you're going to rate, it's going to be a Google form where you can rate all of my suggestions. And after you do that, we're going to go through and we're going to talk about, I want to see what you guys think of my suggestions. It could be a very humbling experience. Let's see.
So while they're doing this, I'll ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. You said don't cut. Well, what about when those spots where you don't say anything, you're kind of breathing or 2 or 3 seconds? Do you go back and worry about those?
No, because the truth is, remember, your target audience is trying to understand what you're saying. And if you don't give them the 2 to 3 seconds for you to breathe, they're not getting time to think about what you're saying. And there are students who would want it to go faster. And one of my suggestions to those students is, if the video is embedded on a website, you can watch it at 1.5 times speed. There's an option, right? So I had students who watched all of my videos at 1.5 times speed because they just understood it faster than the average student. I think I'm going to move on now. So we're going to look at the survey results. This is interesting. I can't predict anything about this one. All right, so now I'm going to share my screen. It's going to work, right?
Yep.
All right, everybody, thank you for that. Vote of confidence. Sharing my screen. There it is. Look at all these results. This is not the best way to look at it, though, so we are going to go to show summary of responses, and we're going to zoom in. All right. Okay, so first one, don't use your built-in microphone. All right. I consider that pretty good. People agree, don't use your microphone. Nobody thinks it's not important. I got a couple of people who think it's extremely important. Thank you for that. A quarter of us. Don't ignore audio levels. Yes, good. I agree, very important. It might even be more important than, don't use your internal microphone, right? Yes?
I have a question about the audio level.
Yeah.
What would you say is a good level? Like
Your goal is there's what's called 0 decibels. Okay, and usually there's a line in whatever program you're looking at where if the audio goes above that, it turns either yellow or red or whatever color that is. Your goal is to get your audio so that when you're talking, it really doesn't hit that yellow or red. There will be times when, for some reason, you do something that's a little bit louder, and it will go higher than that, but your goal is to basically have it go just loud enough so it doesn't turn yellow or red. But you couldn't turn it any higher if it would. Okay. Don't be just a talking head. Oh, that's cool. People agree with me. Thank you for this. That's nice. I'm interested to see, because we're going to have one where you all disagree. That's how it works. Don't overuse transitions and effects. But it's tempting, isn't it? Like, because again, you look at your own videos and you think they're extremely boring. But that's not the case. You just don't like to watch yourself. Don't go on at length. Okay, good. Like, this is great. Don't film outside. I was wondering about this one. Okay, have we had people film outside and have it not work? Or are you just taking my advice on this one? So we have had some people film outside and have it not work. Great. All right. Don't have continuous background music. Yes, I think we've actually probably all tried it at some point, or at least most of us have. I have. And feedback from students was no. Plus, it just tends to repeat itself, and they get bored of the same thing over and over again. Cool. All right. Thank you for that. Yes?
Hey, I know a lot of us use Explain Everything, or a few of us. Yes. And there's an option not to have any talking head.
Okay.
So I don't know what you thought about no head at all. I don't give my students any.
Feedback from my students and from talking to other people is that a picture-in-picture is helpful because it personalizes it. It makes it something where you are there. You're not just like this floating amorphous voice. So that is really, the suggestion is to have one. Okay. Now we're to my list of do's. Very first one, enjoy yourself. Now, I know some of you might completely disagree with me on this one, but I will tell you that I actually consider this one the most important. And it actually comes back to a basic tenet of how I taught. And it was basically, if I'm enjoying myself, then there's a much better chance that the students are enjoying themselves. And if you are not, then it's going to come through. And if you are in a bad mood and you just don't want to do it, fake it. Because you can fake being in a good mood, you can fake enjoying something, and you know what? It will turn into you're actually enjoying it. So the more you enjoy what you're doing while you do it, the more your students will appreciate it. And so that's something that I actually try to put into everything that I do whenever I make my videos, is I make sure that it's something that I am enjoying doing. And I think that comes through. Look at the video camera, okay? Especially if you're doing a picture-in-picture using the camera from your computer, it is very tempting to always look at the center of the computer, not at the video camera. I'm not saying that you always have to look at the video camera, that's not true, but you need to look up every once in a while and connect. There will be times, especially when you're saying something specifically to the people, you know what? So you just talk to them rather than talking at them. So it's a very subtle distinction, but it's an important one. Look at the video camera. Collaborate with colleagues, with students, okay? Definitely gets people more engaged. Be creative. Seems, again, a little bit nebulous. But let's face it, the more creative you can be with what you're doing, the more interested that your students are going to be, and the more interested you are going to be, the more you are going to do, number one, enjoy yourself. So I do want to, oh, we have a hand raised. I don't, okay. Jennifer, what's your question? When it comes in there, let me know. Oh, she's typing.
I'm good, she said.
All right, let me know if it comes in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, yes?
So when you say collaborate with colleagues and students, are you talking about in the video?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Invite colleagues to do a little bit
Whatever.
of something that they're
I'm going to give
a
a basic suggestion, but yes, the more you can include other people in your videos, the better. This is why I have 4 of me in the video. Right? Okay, great. I'll give it a second. So, I mean, that's why. Because when you go from having 1 person to 2 people, it goes from a monologue to a dialogue. So with mine, I have 4 people, so we get people. I mean, we get into arguments. Billy, Bobby, and Bo sometimes get into arguments. I don't know if you ever noticed that. But that's an important piece. I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. So can he restate the question when asked from the audience?
Jennifer.
Yes.
Jennifer is a little bit better.
Oh, yes, thank you. I will restate questions from the audience. I apologize.
You just have to use the scroll bar.
I see it.
Okay.
I'm just curious, do we need to have a video camera or can we use a built-in camera for our PC? Okay. So the question is that you can't see, now I have to say it for my people that are here, can we just use the video camera in our phone or in our laptop? And I have found that the laptop and phone video really is sufficient. It's not what I use, but I try to do much more than sufficient. But yes, I found that the video camera does seem to be fine. So I do want to share. Sorry, I'm running out of time. I guess I won't share that one. So I did. No, I want to do it. Sorry, I spent a lot of time. Think about what makes a good flipping video and what doesn't, and make a list. That is your homework.
This video will self-destruct in
Sounds like I gotta go.
3, 2,
Bye.
1.
Okay. So my point with this video is several pieces. Okay. That's why I wanted to show it. Number one, the creative bit. There's an avalanche effect in here, right? I never would have done the avalanche effect if it weren't for my children, because one of my 11-year-old daughter has started to make videos, believe it or not, trailers for books that she's writing. And so she found this app where she was using it to like make missiles land in various places. And so it's a free app. I'll show you what it is in just a moment. So, and I never would have used that, but it adds like 5 seconds to the video, but it makes it creative and interesting, right? Agreed? It was kind of fun when I ran out and the avalanche almost hit me. And in addition to that, it's my children that say, this video will self-destruct in 3, 2, 1. So I'm collaborating not only with my wife, my children. I don't have students or colleagues at the moment, so it's my family that I collaborate with. Although I am working on, actually, I don't have time. Golly, I get frustrated. Okay. Yes, can you give me a second? I'll look. Thank you. Do you think it would be appropriate to use students to film? Yes, absolutely. A lot of schools have video production units and green screens and all sorts of stuff. I would yes, they love producing videos. Absolutely, you want to work with your students and use that as much as you can. Okay, so it was called an avalanche effect, and it's called Action Movie FX, and it's free. And again, you don't have to write it down because it's all on my website. You can just click on the presentation; it'll all be there for you. But I see people wanting to write it down, so I'll wait just a moment here. So, and I collaborated with my children when I did that. Oh, and the mic fell. Nobody's complaining about the fact that mic disappeared. You guys didn't notice either? Oh, this is a serious problem. Okay. Haha. Okay. So provide lecture notes. This is an important piece I consider. And I don't care what your lecture notes look like. These are what my lecture notes look like. I post them for all of my videos. And I include every single step that I do in the video. You could choose to do lecture notes where they have to write stuff down during the video. That's great too. But to provide them with a physical, tangible thing that is related to the video that they're looking at is a very effective way to get them engaged in what they're doing. So what basic software do you, okay. Here, I will answer that question. So I get this question a lot. What do I use when making videos? So I actually dedicated a web page to it, and it's just technology.html, flippingphysics.com. Again, I'm going to post that it's on the website. But it lists everything that I go through and use, and it's really long, and I wouldn't go through it right now. I'm just not going to do that. Yes?
Question about your lecture notes. Did you find if you did that, they didn't watch the video because they had everything they needed with the lecture notes?
Yes.
So it's a danger to do it.
Hold up. Is it a danger?
I wouldn't watch my video.
Okay, no, okay. But your goal should be to get them to understand the material.
I see your point.
Right? So I did have students who just used the lecture notes. I did have students who watched it more than 3 times. Right? So your goal here is to educate. And if that's your goal, then don't provide lecture notes that look like this. Provide ones that they have to fill in. But for me, my goal is to get them to learn. But I would sneak stuff in where I would not put in a lecture note just so I could have conversations with people and I would understand whether they watched it or not, so I can figure it out. It's always good to do. Yes, for if you can. So have a theme. Now, I clearly have a theme. I have 3 students and all that stuff. But it's simple to have a theme. Along with the collaboration piece, let's say you have a colleague. And every 10 videos or so, that colleague walks into your picture-in-picture and does something. They hand you a cup of coffee. Next time, they walk through wearing a monkey suit. The next time, they hand you a hat. I don't care what it is. Don't make it every 10 videos so your students know exactly what it is. You know, oh, and there's something that's going to happen in this one. Make it random, right? But make it something where they watch the video. Did you do something last night? No. What did you do last night? What? There was a monkey suit. Okay? So anything, and it doesn't have to be long. Again, your goal is short, but you want the students to watch them. So sneak in stuff that's just silly and goofy and collaborate with people on it. Sorry, that's me again. Okay. Use a script. Okay? This is what my script looks like. Okay? It's probably hard to see, but I have Billy, Bobby, and Bo. I have all sorts of different, I have the equations that I'm going to write down. I sit down and I write down this entire script that I'm going to use, and then I don't say exactly what it says. Okay? But it gives you a point where you know, okay, this is what I'm trying to say, and the truth is, when you say it, sometimes you're like, you know what? That's not quite how I want to say it. So you say it again, because as you say it, rather than typing it, you're going to think of slightly better ways to say things, and that's an important piece. But having a script, someplace to start from, is really, really important.
Is the script being shown up on the screen?
No, I don't put the script on the screen, but I am using it to put closed captioning into my videos, but that's an entirely different, something completely different. Okay. An important part of my teaching was when I lectured, I didn't correct students' mistakes as we're going through and doing a problem on the board. I would let them make mistakes, and I would say, you know what, it's up to the other 29 of you to figure out when a mistake is being made. And it's important that we not lose that in our lecture videos, in our flipped lectures. So make mistakes, address misconceptions, things that people do wrong. This is an important piece. I'm not going to show a video because we're having enough issues, but I have a specific video, it's called Common Freefall Pitfalls, which actually I go through and address every pitfall that I can come up with that students run into when it comes to free fall. It's great. I throw a ball up and it stops in the middle of the air. I spent a long time working on it. I was going to share it with you, but I'm not going to now. I'm running out of time anyway.
Explain to me what would happen if the acceleration at the top in the y direction were equal to 0. Oh, it would stop in midair and just float. Because if the velocity is 0 at the top and the velocity isn't changing, then the velocity would continue to stay 0 and the ball would just float there. Right. It would look like this. Awesome.
Mr. P, that's cool.
Wait, I thought it wouldn't do that. Therefore, the acceleration clearly isn't 0. Sorry.
Fast forward when necessary. Again, I was going to show you a video here. I have a video. I actually went through, I was thinking about this. Like, one of my suggestions is to fast forward, and I realized that I actually have a video that I should have fast forwarded. And I was going to show that to you, but we're going to run out of time. I'll put them all on my website just for fun. But I actually spend a minute and 20 seconds where I run out of the room, I go and I run over to the parking, to the park across the street, I swing on the swing, and I run back and I come back right here. And it has to do with the difference between displacement and distance travel. And the displacement is just the distance from where I started to where I ended. It doesn't have to do with anything that happened in between. Let's do one more example. Again, let's say that I start here.
This guy is strange.
Yeah. Billy, what was my displacement? But then I redid it where I fast forwarded and it only took 30 seconds. So that's a huge difference, okay? So if you look at it, I saved 50 seconds in the video, right? 50 seconds. What's 50 seconds? Gets the time, right? Okay, well, let's say I have 3 classes of 30 for 10 years. That's 45,000 seconds. That's 12 and a half hours of time people would not watch the video. You want people to watch your videos, make it so that they don't have to watch more than they have to, right? But again, don't cut out the 3 seconds when you're breathing. You gotta breathe. All right, I think that's the last one. Yes, so we get to opine again. Actually, let's do this while we're waiting. I'll take suggestions from this room. Other suggestions, because I've gone through all my do's and don'ts and the basics. Anything that I didn't cover that you feel we should? Yes?
I had a problem with people walking in while I was videoing.
Okay.
And it's kind of frustrating, so I always put signs up on the door that said video in progress.
That is a great, I don't run into that issue because I film at home, but that's a great idea. So her idea is, for those, hopefully you can hear me, was to put up a video in progress sign on your door so that people don't walk in while you're filming. Great idea.
Start talking.
Yes.
I do a lot of chemical demos outside, and so I'll record and just cut the audio out and then re-record my audio explaining what's going on and just overlay it.
Right. So the suggestion is if you film outside, you can overdub audio in post because, as you know, it's really hard to get the audio to work, the dialogue to know outside. All right. In the interest of time, I'm going to move on. I want to take a look at the survey results, see what you guys think of all my suggestions. All right, so let's go do survey. There we go. Okay. All right. Enjoy yourself. Okay. I'm glad you guys agree. To me, it's just so important. That's awesome. Look at the video camera. Okay, you don't agree quite as much, but that's okay. I can understand that. For me personally, I think it's very important, but I can understand that some people would not think it's extremely important, just very important. Collaborate, okay. And I get this, but it's probably, would you agree that it's because it's difficult to collaborate that you think it's not as important? Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. So I think you would agree, let's see if you agree with this, that while you do think it's important because it's difficult, you're rating it less. Okay, yes?
I was just going to say, for the people who think it's difficult because it's hard to get a friend or students who are willing to collaborate and willing to be seen on video, other teachers have used puppets to play the part of the student.
Okay, so we have a suggestion from the audience. If you don't have anyone to collaborate with yourself, using a puppet or something of that sort, which is basically what I do, right? Yes?
I've done Google Hangouts with other teachers that I work with because they usually make their videos at night or in the morning.
Okay.
It works out really well.
So a suggestion from the audience to use Google Hangout to collaborate with other people or something of that sort. Yes?
I also think that it probably depends on the subject matter and also your audience. So I teach at the university level, so I would really hope that they don't need all that stimulation.
Well, so I'm going to agree with what you said and disagree. So you said that, she said that at the university level, she doesn't feel like she needs all that collaboration, all the bells and whistles, because you would hope that they don't need all that. And I'm actually going to disagree because I think it brings something out of you and makes changes to what you do based on collaborating with other people, which can be good. You take that however you'd like.
And again, I think that depends on the subject.
And again, it does depend on, no. And again, I get back to what I said actually at the very beginning, which is that you know your students, you know your subject material better than anyone else. Yes?
I don't know about the collaboration because I think that that's difficult, but as far as like the bells and whistles, I know, and I'm sure everybody else has watched webinars that are just awful.
Yeah.
Because all it is just, there's no change in anything.
Right.
And
So the point was that she's been to a lot of webinars where nothing changes and it's extremely hard to watch.
And I think I'm kind of educated.
All right, let's, I only have a couple minutes here. So be creative. Again, you guys think it's important, which is great. Provide lecture notes. We're a little bit less excited about providing lecture notes, which I can understand like that. Have a theme. Okay, again, we have one person who thinks it's extremely important, like me. And using a script. Interesting, I thought we'd have more people who thought this was extremely important. I do, but I clearly am not. Actually, that's a good point. So the point was that using a script actually can make it go faster, which is, again, a very important piece. Yeah, so taking the time beforehand to create the script makes it so that not only the video itself is a little bit shorter, but it takes less time to make. Right. And that's definitely true, I agree. So making mistakes, that's awesome. Nobody thinks it's below important. So we got to keep those, keep the mistakes. And fast forwarding when necessary, this is great. So I'm a little bit sad that I couldn't, that nobody, like everybody didn't disagree with me on some things. We couldn't get into fisticuffs, but that's okay. Next time. Next time, yes, next time. All right, so let's go back to here. We're almost done. I did want to, in the last, let's come to, where is it? I did promise that I was going to do this, so I'm going to show this piece right here. I'm going to show you how I do Billy, Bobby, and Bo in one scene. The basic idea. Okay? So the first thing to understand is that I do not expect any of you to do this. It took me a long time to figure it out. There was a lot of iteration involved because one of the biggest issues is shadows. Because I have to crop, I filmed the 3 videos separately and I have to crop them. I'll show that in just a minute. But you have one, there's somebody's moving over here and there's a shadow behind the other person. So this is my lighting setup. I have 3 different lights, one for each of my students, so that they basically have a shadow that is directly behind them. Okay? And so this is what I'm creating, something that looks like this. So it's 3 different videos. We have a video of Billy. So I sit there and I film all of Billy's parts. This is one of the reasons I need a script specifically, because I have 3 characters that interact, so I need to know what they're going to say. Then I film Bobby. Then I film Bo.
have to use a tripod, cannot move the camera. I've done it once where I accidentally kicked the tripod of the camera, had to start over. Okay, because if the camera moves at all, you're going to see the split. So then I crop Bo's, so it looks like this. Then I crop Bobby's. I use a mask over Bobby, which has a slight fade on it, so that I can then take all three and layer them and create that. Okay. And you cannot do this in Camtasia. Can't do this in iMovie. I use Final Cut Pro. You need a professional level video editing software to do this. And again, one of the reasons I point this out is so that you don't watch my video and think, I'll do that. Another, just the little piece, is that I spend approximately 2 hours making every minute of my videos, which is why I'm not in the classroom right now, because there's no way that anyone could do that and be in the classroom. Yes, question?
Go back into the classroom?
I don't know. I don't know where this is going to lead me. I'm really loving what I'm doing here, and in the end, I think I'll be able to share my knowledge with a lot of people this way, and we'll see. But I don't know. This is where I am right now. And I think we've come to the end of our...
those? Part of one?
The homework video that I had showed it, and I've been trying to...
I switched mine.
Okay, I've been trying to show videos and it hasn't been working, so I'm just going to stop. It's on my website, the link there. So, ladies and gentlemen, people, thank you very much for coming with me today.